And hey guys, and welcome to the Garage Athlete Show. We are on episode 84, and I am joined by the one and only Daniel Frazier, who is getting some munch in. As always, can't skip a meal now. You're a bodybuilder.
Well, that's one of the things I thought would be interesting to talk about. Fasting seems to making a bit of a resurgence again. To be interesting, but people doing I'm talking 24-hour plus fast. Like, you heard it's like 3-5 day fast or something.
Yeah, so as you said, I think with fitness things, no matter what it is, it always goes in cycles. Things become trendy, a load of people jump onto it, it works for a load of people, and then the next thing kind of comes along. So I remember this being a thing a few years ago with something called the 5-2 diet, where it was like 5 days of normal eating and then 2 days of fasting. And
it just don't eat
at
all 2 days in a row.
Yeah. So it just, at the end of the day, like, in order to lose body fat, the amount of calories you eat over a week needs to be in a deficit. Like, that's how the human body works over time. So by having 2 full days of fasting, it's very unlikely you're going to overeat by 4,000 calories, like, over kind of like the week, if you're eating relatively normally.
Especially if you did it the weekend.
Yeah. And I think that's why it was useful for people, is because they could then be structured then throughout the week, Monday to Friday, and then on a weekend they didn't even have to think, because they just couldn't eat. They could drink black coffee and then not have to worry about food side of stuff. So where is it that you've seen this, the 1 day?
All right, so there's a dude, like, you must know, a few of our listeners are from. I think it's called Shane Jaman. So
right.
I've known Shane, not personally, but I've met him at a competition briefly. But like, basically, he's quite a well-respected coach, particularly in the strength community, and he's now like a massive proponent of fasting, but to the point of, we're talking like, I think from the gist of it, I think we're even talking like 3 to 5 day fast, like absolutely like going hell for leather on it. I'm like, whoa. But it was funny, other posts like, you look in your mirror and it's like, if you think you're a piece of shit, you could have like changed your life. I'm paraphrasing it, but I was just like, basically it was the old school, like probably what we grew up with, like, you're pathetic, you can change your life, but you're not doing it, you absolute weasel. So the way to do it is don't eat. And I'm like, I guess, does it work sometimes? Some people need that absolute like smack in the face approach of like, let's just go. Other people prefer slowly building up. Some people, start the ground running. But this is literally like, bang, throw all the grenades and like approach to fat loss. And I'm like, I guess the quickest way to lose weight would to be not eat. Yeah, but it's just like, what? I just, it's new to me, this concept of like doing like 3 day fast. I'm like, fucking hell, like.
Wow. I think it's one of those things, doing a 3 day fast straight off the bat. By the end of day one, that person is going to be fucking ravenous. The likelihood that somebody is going to be able to stick to that straight off the bat is very, very unlikely. They're going to get to the end of day one and they're just going to have a massive binge eating session. Like, I get what they're saying, as you said, like, the quickest way to lose an amount of weight is to just stop energy in. Because energy out isn't going to just stop. Like, if you want to lose a lot of weight very, very quickly, just stop eating. It's not going to be enjoyable. You're not going to be able to keep it up for more than a few days, and you've got to have a lot of self-control to be able to come out the other end with all those hunger hormones absolutely blaring sirens at you, that you then don't eat everything in sight.
Yeah.
However,
I think like some of the people say like, mate, we need to start like looking. I'll look into it, because it just makes me laugh at first, and there'll be a load of people, I guess, that would get offended, but I don't think so. I just think they think, why would you not want to eat? Like, what? Like, but it's like, do some people need that kind of like pulling off a plaster approach? But then one of the things he says is like, you get this feeling where you're like, it was interesting, the mental side of things, like, you take control back of your diet, you're in control, you've beaten this hunger, which I guess is the whole ice bath thing, that idea that you're taking control of something or winning something is a huge mental part. So maybe these diets are more necessarily for sorting people's headsets out. Is it the way to go, or is it not? I
well, it's like, what was it, what's that, is it a 90-day challenge or a 50-day, where it's like, I can't remember what it's called, like something like Get Hard or something like that, where it's like you've got to exercise every single day, you've got to do an ice bath, you've got to read a
do
book.
something every day or something, to better
Yeah,
you.
it's for like 90 days or
I know
50
the one.
days
I
or
remember the one. Yeah.
I can't remember what it is. The amount of people that I've seen start that, but the thing is with it is that it's all or nothing, and I don't like that in terms of when you're dealing with a normal person with a normal life. Like if you're dealing with a high level athlete, they have to be all or nothing because they're a high level athlete. Their entire life revolves around that. But it's also one of the reasons why they have a very short career as a professional athlete because their entire life revolves around them. By the time they hit 30, like you've got 20-year-olds whose entire life revolves around that, kind of like hot on their heels. For the average person who's got kids and got other responsibilities, there's far too many plates spinning at the same time for it to be all or nothing, because if it's all or nothing, you're going to be doing nothing more often than you're going to be doing all. So these sort of things where it's like, if you miss one day, you have to completely start again. I think it just sets people up in a horrible mindset of then that they failed, they need to start again. And then they just end up doing these unrealistic, high expectation kind of things every single day, which kind of don't fit into their lifestyle. But I suppose that's why we have a job, because there are people that can do that, but the majority of people can't. Whereas we then come along and go, you don't need to do that. Like, we'll hold your hand through this process. We'll show you how to take the bits of information that you need and implement it into your life. So there's a little bit more of a soft landing rather than just like go hard or go home sort of thing.
Yeah, I've often thought this now because there was a big trend of moving towards sustainability and that kind of stuff. I still think that is the most important thing, and I think the research, not that I haven't read it, but from what I've said from good sources, says that's still the best way to go. But then I even think of like diets where I've tried to set it up as perfectly as I can for people. Like, you can have this, you can have that, you can work this in, let's do this, here's your options, all this kind of stuff, and you think you've literally laid out the perfect blueprint diet and according to research what should fit. I should say strategy of eating, not diet, right? But like it's still like high failure rate, people not working. And
yeah,
I've seen the new trend in fitness seems to be, and I think it's in response to what's been said over the last 10 years. I think it's now returning back to that, go out and fucking change your life, or it's going to be really hard work, you've got to put the work and that kind of stuff. And I think that's fair. I think that's good, but it's kind of like, can we
I've just remembered the name of that challenge. It's 75 hard.
75 hard. That's right. Are you sure that's not your search history? But yeah, like it's trying to get back to the that kind of kick your ass or slap in the face approach first, then go and get there. Like that. Let's do this and attacking it. But like, I try and think. Most of the diets, the ones that succeed, I think it's not. It is to do with diet, I guess, a bit. Like, for example, what's the name? I bring him up all the time, but like no one talks about, if you can't see yourself doing the diet within like a year's time, like, is it the right method for you? And I was like, well, it's fucking not, because the one I want to do all the time is not track anything, eat what I like, and get pissed all the time. And it doesn't work, obviously. It's kind of like, for me, it's like, what forces me or allows me to eat less of the shit sandwich? And it's like, can you see yourself count, like, personally for me, like, can I see myself tracking macros every day for my life? Fuck no, that would kill me. Like, I got like obsessed with the tracking elements. For some people, they love it, like doing it all the time, not a problem. Like, if anything, it enhances their mental health. But for me, it was great for a period of time, but because like with my ADHD brain, it's like I hyper focus on it and I'm obsessed with doing the tracking to the tracking. You got to track, and it's great. And then all of a sudden, you're like, I never want to do this again in my life. So you get that like obscene focus, and then you back off of it with the tracking side of things. I was like, yeah, so I guess I can't do this for the rest of my life. I think it's, it's still a tool I use occasionally. But then I'm like, okay, well, what's better than that? And it's like, well, portion control. And I was like, well, no, because if I could portion control, I wouldn't be in, I wouldn't have weight problems. Society wouldn't have a weight problem, like it'd be great if everyone did have portion control and sort themselves out. That'd be amazing, but we don't. They're excessive. So
So
portion control
I
doesn't
tend
work.
to, as you said, you've got different tools for different situations. I think when people have got a problem with weight, like you have to bring in that like level of accuracy so that they are weighing food, they are tracking things, like they're able to then see where they were overeating. But that's more just bringing awareness kind of like to it. How I live the majority of my life is something called well, I call it like semi-structured. So I eat 5, 6 meals a day, depending on where I am in my training cycle. 4 of those will pretty much be the same thing. So that when I make a change, I only have to track that once. And then I know, right, that is the same. But that's because I don't mind eating eggs for breakfast, having a protein shake and some oats as kind of like meal 2, having some beef and rice and some mixed bag of veggies as meal 3. And then I have my evening meal where I eat with the kids and with the missus is just completely flexible. So then I don't have to track the other meals because they're the same, they're set. What I'll often do with clients is, because they don't want to live like that, is we'll have 2 or 3 options that are again set. So it's less thinking. Like, it's called decision fatigue. When you're trying to do these things, when you're trying to diet, when you're trying to lose weight and lose body fat, especially, like, you've got so many decisions that you would normally just make on autopilot to make throughout the day. So what am I going to eat? Does this fit into my plan? When am I going to train? When am I going to do my cardio? Am I going to go out for a walk, or am I going to walk on a treadmill? Like, there's so many more decisions to make when you're making big changes in your life, that if you can take away some of those decisions, it means that you're just more likely to make better choices in the ones that you've got, because you're not making 200 decisions in a day. You're only making 150. So that's something that's worked for me, and something that I've implemented with some clients that are struggling in terms of, if they don't want to track everything, is take away some of the decisions, take away some of that complexity, and just make it simple. You don't need to, and then the whole thing of, are you going to live the rest of your life like that? No, you're not. But you've got a goal you're working towards over the next 12, 16, 20 weeks. Let's get you there. And then what we can then do as coaches is, right, let's take away some of that rigidity. You're going to start being flexible now on 2 meals rather than 1, right? You're going to start being flexible on 3 meals rather than 1. Let's just keep your snacks that you have throughout the day as pretty set, so that you're not overeating when you're snacking. And little tools kind of like that can be very, very helpful. But I think what you said there about how kind of the fitness industry going back to the like just telling you what to do again, it's these cycles. If I remember when I first was a PT, the massive thing was Insanity. They're like the DVD kind of like fitness craze, because it was just like, do this, train 7 days a week. If you can stick to this program for 90 days, you will get insane results. And it's not wrong. If you could stick to that program for 90 days, you would get insane results. I don't know, did you ever do any of the Insanity workouts?
No.
I did one, and the only thing that was really fucking sore the next day was my calves, because there was so much like,
Yeah, you said this. Yeah.
jumping
Maybe I
and
should
being
do
up on my toes. Like, maybe I should do it. Captain No Calves.
it. Hashtag, yeah. Well, yeah, there you go. But no, I'm kind of, yeah, they look so fucking brutal. I've even got it now, like
Oh,
new
it was
starters.
brutal.
They're like, even like you give them some hit stuff and all that, they just go mental. And I'm like, you're not gonna last like more than 10 minutes of this session. Well, you're so funny. Like, that kind of, I look at the workouts, man. I don't think I could do them. I think I could probably, well, I'd like that. I'll build myself up to it. But mate, I've done some hard training in my life, like some really hard, borderline, what they call it, rad though now, like whitey on the floor, can't move for like an hour afterwards, those kind of training sessions. Well, I still think these sessions they get the people to do at home at the pace they want them to do. If you did that like that, you'd fucking die, man. It's like, do you remember when Tabata came out? It was like the protocol is one set. That's all you've got to do. Just 4 minutes hard. You have to work extremely hard. Done. So, of course, the fitness industry is like, let's do a whole class of it. It's like, well, it's
Yeah.
not the Tabata protocol, then, is it? Like, it's completely changed it. But it's like,
yeah.
It's
It's just word 10. What is it? 10? Is it 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off?
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
have to go
So
for 8 minutes on a bike.
if you do that on an air assault bike, it's fucking brutal.
Oh, mate. So
If you
one set of
do
that
a
is enough.
Tabata class that's half an hour long, you are not going all out balls to the wall in that 20 seconds because you've got 6 sets of that motherfucker.
It's physically impossible to do it. Like if you've done a true Tabata, you're on the floor for a little while afterwards. Like
Yeah.
the only way to really do it, I think, is to do on the bike, like possibly a sprint. But I think that like the whole study was performed on a stationary bike. And the idea is that, like, say if you were doing it as rowing, you wouldn't be like rowing. It takes a few strokes to get up to the sort of pace. Not to say, mate, rowing is absolutely horrendous and brutal, but like it's the fact you can sprint straight away on the recumbent bike with the right resistance, like go on a spin bike or whatever. Oh no, maybe you could do the same on an assault bike because it's just got what it's just bang.
Yeah,
but that's
try
what
not to
kills you.
hit your head on the things as they're coming. If you
Yeah.
ever seen that where the guy's doing
Yeah.
Tabata and it goes in and he ducks his head down like this and straight in with the thing, knocks himself out.
Oh my days.
Those because he's gone with his feet and then he ducks his head down because he's really trying to go with his hands. And yeah, that thing's solid. And yeah, it clocks him. He knocks himself out and flies back.
Wow.
Yeah. So public service announcement: don't headbutt the handles on an assault bike.
Why would you do that? Yeah, like headbutt. Oh, that's another thing. Gym fails. Like, yeah, there's loads of reaction videos to that. So that's what. Yeah, Eddie Hall did. Eddie Hall's become a proper like you what do you call it, like a social media person,
Influencer. Yeah, I've seen all these things on Facebook.
Yeah, which is great. But you find it's like it's. I don't know if they've got the same agencies or what their social media is, but it's very formulaic, isn't it? It's like you do reaction videos, you do these kind of videos, you do funny videos, and you like kind of repeat it all on a cycle, or you join with the latest trends. And it's like, there you go. Like Thor's like obsessed because it was obviously there was that famous meme of like Thor with his wife when he's like night on 7:30, she's tired, and they was like, way. But obviously he's like seeing the reactions like that. But now every post is literally about, hey, these are my
here's how big I am compared to my wife.
Yeah, like literally every post the same from her. I was like, all right, we get it. What just like, okay, but it's just I think it's pretty obvious what goes on in these agencies will do the same shit. But yeah.
Have you seen Eddie Hall's doing a bodybuilding competition?
Oh yeah, I've heard he's already come under fire for his waist thickness or something like that.
Of course he will. He was, what was he, 30 stone. He's not gonna you're not gonna take somebody who is a strong man build. He's gonna have a thick fucking waist from doing all those heavy lifting and carrying things. He's not going to have an aesthetic physique. He's just going to be big. Like, what's the name of the other strongman that did it recently? Terry Hollands. Like, when you look at his transformation, he got fairly lean. I think because is he slightly taller or not?
Yeah, he's 6'5".
Yeah, so because he's slightly taller, he gets away with it. Whereas I think Eddie Hall's 6 foot, like bang on the money, which actually for a bodybuilder is tall. Like most open class bodybuilders are somewhere between like 5'7" to 5'10". Arnold and Seaborn are like exceptions to the rule. But like, yeah, open class bodybuilders, because to get the right proportions, like as soon as you get over 6 foot, in order to have the right proportions to be an open class bodybuilder, you're going to be 300 plus pounds on stage, which is just not good for anybody's health. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how lean he can actually get, because people think that they can kind of get lean. And when like a normal person's level of lean is like where a bodybuilder starts their prep. And then they go down to, so like I'm starting my prep now at like what I would class as kind of like beach body lean. Maybe I'd lose another 2 or 3 kilos if I was kind of wanting to be like beach body ready. But this is where I'm starting my prep. So I've got 20 to 25 weeks of dieting now, going from what the average person would probably like to get down to going down to stupidly low levels of body fat just because we want to prance around on the stage in our pants. But that's
I've already said I want to just look like an out-of-season bodybuilder. That's fine by me.
Yeah.
Like, what, 10-ish, like 10% or something? That's great.
Yeah. Bodybuilders want to stick somewhere between like 10 and 15% body fat most of the time.
Yeah, no, 10 would do me nice.
So in terms of kind of like your dieting, have you ever tried to stick to like a specific meal plan, or has it always been more of a flexible approach?
Both. It's probably 50-50 on both. I've had it where I eat pretty much the same thing every day, or go when I was like younger, the same thing like all the time. And then I've done the diets, right on the other end of the spectrum. I was like, what can I eat today that wasn't yesterday? Like all the flexibility and stuff. So
how long did you last on the meal plan diet?
Like, you mean like traditional?
Do
you mean like traditional meal plans, as in like meal 1, meal 3, meal 4?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Sorry, man. I misinterpreted what you were saying. Yeah, no, I've had some success, but yeah, you say it doesn't quite work. But I think it's because you get really bored of the same foods all the time. But then again, when you do flexible dieting, it's not that fucking flexible. Like everyone's like, "Ooh, you can do all of this shit." It's like, no, it's like you'll have maybe 1 or 2 things, or it's more the acceptance that you're like, "Hey, why don't I just have, a couple of biscuits instead of the whole fucking pack?" Like I think someone said it best, is like if you took what you think you need to diet on, take roughly 10% of those calories of like maybe some like and that's pushing it, like of some like crap you can eat. I was like, it's still a decent amount. It's just, as you say, over time with the deficit, it works. But yeah, I was like, if you actually did 5 to 10% of your daily intake for like naughty things, it's a pretty decent amount for most people.
Yeah.
You could still get by with like having a chocolate bar every day. That's why the what do you call it? The attraction to the flexible dieting route was. I guess it feels so fucking stupid to think that you would think that you couldn't have these things and still lose weight. It was just, we were also like blinking to it, weren't we?
Well, if you go back a few years, then people did think that it was. Think about the slimming world and the Weight Watchers mentality. It's like food is a sin. Like I don't care how they want to like dress it up and all the acronyms they can give it in the world, but if you label a food as bad or food as a sin, there is therefore an associated punishment with eating it. Like, and this is the thing, I think the whole flexible dieting thing came around because there was this whole demonization of food, and we've got a whole generation of people that are afraid to eat certain things. Like I've got a guy that I'm working with at the moment, and he's in his building phase, and we've just pushed his calories up to like 3,500. And he's struggling to get food in. He's like, oh mate, like how do I get more food in? I was like, okay.
And I can't spend a weekend with his Uncle Dan. He'll sort him out.
Well, I just said, well, why don't you add in like a bagel with some jam? Oh, I didn't know I was allowed bread. Why wouldn't you be allowed bread? Like a bagel and jam, you're looking at 3, 4, probably even 500 calories, depending on how much jam you put on there. Have a Rice Krispie square like post-workout. That's another 30, 40 grams of carbs. Like there's no like calorie dense food is useful when you're trying to push food up. If you've just got a normal diet and you're eating really clean food, as soon as you get over like the 2,500 to 2,800 calories mark, for the average person who's not an athlete and is not used to eating 5 meals a day, like trying to get 2,500 calories in like just your 3 main meals and a protein shake, it starts to get a bit uncomfortable. If that food is 100% clean, there's no extras in there, there's no cakes, there's no chocolates, anything like that. So throw some calorie dense stuff in there if you are trying to push up body weight, and don't be afraid of it. Like it's all got its purpose. And as I said, if it's that 80-20 split, it's far easier to work on an 80-20 split when your calories are at 3,500 than when they're at like 1,200. Like people that say, oh, I'm flexibly dieting, how many calories you're on? 1,200. You're not flexibly dieting. Like you sniff a McDonald's and you've used half of your calories there. So it's not really flexible dieting, is it?
No, well, that's it. Yeah, that was a big sort of realization I had when I was doing it. Like, oh, yeah, turns out I can't have all these things I was promised I can use.
If
Like,
it
here's
fits
what
your
you could.
macros, like influencers, or it's like, yeah, I'm eating a burger. If it fits your macros, oh, I've used all my macros in one
Or even if
meal.
you did eat that
Shit.
burger, it's like, great, okay, I'll have cabbage and air for the rest of the day.
Dust, cabbage and dust.
Yeah, but it's like, it's so true. It's like, yeah, I found some of the lasses I was training. I was like, yeah, you can have whatever you want, it's gonna be great. And you're 1,500 calories, so not really. You can though. It's like, what? Oh mate, that's exactly what it was, isn't it? I mean, sorry, I'm still just laughing about that, considering for years I don't know. Do you almost feel you just get in this weird headspace with diets where like you almost like know some parts that you're doing to it don't make any sense, but then you're like,
Yeah.
you don't question it, you just do it. Like I look back on, I mentioned it, touched on it earlier. Like I look back and think, yeah, if you literally look at a carb, you're fat, or it's not calories, it's carbs. It's just that, and I'm going to go on this super high fat diet, be totally rich. And I was like, and I was preaching it for ages. And I was like, suddenly look in the mirror, I'm like, you're a fat piece of shit, mate. Like, it's not working for you.
I remember going through a phase where every client that came on board with me, it was called I can't remember the term. Basically, you do keto for like 2 weeks, and then it like supercharges your fat loss results because you've drained the carbohydrates out. If you then come back into kind of like a low to medium carb diet after doing that for 2 weeks, basically your body is burning through loads more body fat because it's in ketosis. The problem was it fucks most people's heads up so much in the first week or two, they are completely disillusioned with the rest of the program. So you'd get fucking great weight loss results. Somebody binge at the back end of week 2, and then they've completely checked out of the process because you've put them through this 2 weeks of hell. And the rest of the 10-week block, they're just not listening to what you've got to say. I did that for about 3 months. The 5 people that could do it, amazing results because the premise worked. The 15 people that basically couldn't do that first 2 weeks, we then really struggled to kind of get results. And I think this is one of the problems that a lot of like young trainers and stuff have, is that they're afraid to like try these new things, or they get married to one particular way of thinking far too early, rather than going, this is a great tool that I can use for this person. This is another good tool that I can use for this person, and matching up those tools for the different people, and that it's not one thing works for everyone. So if I was going back to my 19-year-old self that did that, I'd say, yeah, that's great. That's a great tool for those 5 people that you know can do it. These 15, you need a slightly different model to work with them and make it work.
Yeah, just trying to think 2 weeks of hell. Sounds like a pre-season or something. Like, get through these 2 weeks, you get. Well, that's kind of the premise of it. But do you ever feel with some of these diets, they almost, or people almost doing their diets want to feel like they're doing
They're
something
suffering.
that someone else, yeah, they're suffering, or it's like they want to do something that someone else can do. Like, for example, if I did one of those, like, say, I don't know, you start that diet with loads of other people, and I was the only one that made it to the end, or a couple of us, then I might be like, yeah, I'm a fucking dieting superstar.
So I think the fitness industry is set up that way for that. I think I read a statistic somewhere that only like 10% of the population of the, 8 billion people there is on Earth actually actively engage in like exercise and like monitoring their food. And it's because the fitness industry is set up for that 10% to sell everything to that 10% that are highly motivated. They want to do it. They'll do these crazy things because they are mind over matter, and they're into like self-development and all that kind of shit. They want to better themselves. The problem is that other 90% is also contributing to society, and they're all starting to get health issues because they're not exercising, they're not looking after kind of like what they're doing. So what do we have to do as an industry to increase that 10% to include more of those people? And is it be more polarizing, which is again going to turn that 90% off? Or is it try to be more inclusive, but then that's going to piss off the 10% that's already in there? I think it's a really, really hard balance to find of like, what do we need to do to make it more inclusive without excluding the people that are already in there?
Yeah. This is I guess the other one of not everyone has to be inclusive on these things. I think that's maybe the other reason people do these diets, because they don't want to appeal to everyone. Like, even if they know the research says do this, and it's like, well, I'm going to say do this because I want the person that's already looking that way to go in on it. Yeah, but be interesting to see where, like you see, where we all go with it all. But I personally think it's going to get more extreme before it. Yeah, I think over the next few years we're going to see more liver kings, more people doing crazy shit. Even though they've been out with steroids, I don't think it's going to stop it. I think it's going to keep moving forward with that kind of stuff. Or they're like, if you fast 10 hours a day, fast 12 hours a day, because then it's super like next level. Or don't
It's super next level.
Yeah, don't eat. Oh, mate, speaking of super excel, sorry, my brain's gone on a tangent. Right. So when I was a kid, I used to watch this anime very briefly, and it came on late on Cartoon Network, and I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And I vaguely remember it was about people that had these like crystals or gems or something, and then they like turn into these like cyborgs with like this armor. I was like, can you imagine like fucking, I don't know, 8-year-old me looking at that, just like, probably what you lot feel like when you watch Dragon Ball Z. Well,
Yeah.
it was probably the same feeling. It's just I got that one first. I was like, that's cool. And then I could never remember what it was, and I haven't thought about it for years. And the other day it came to my head randomly, and I found it on YouTube. So I'm just like, this is fucking brilliant. That kind of like
Binge watching it
super
now.
aggressive, like cool being the hero, smashing shit up. And I was like, I just fucking loved it. So yeah, that's my random tangent for the day.
Yeah, I've been posting some like Dragon Ball Z stuff on like my stories and stuff, and then there's guys that are like my age that are still really into it and like up to date with like all the latest movies. Like there's like 10 seasons of it. I didn't even know. I thought it died out a long time ago, but no, apparently it's still going on. Like Goku just keeps getting more powerful, and now he just fights people that are like god level villains, and it's like, okay, this is going a bit far down the rabbit hole for me right now. But
stuff is it's not a good watch, isn't it? Like obviously there's loads of other things wrong with Marvel at the moment, but like these kind of like universe level threats where I'm like, it just doesn't. Now there's a multiverse as well. It doesn't feel like it has any weight. Like, say if they all die, it's like, well, what does it matter? They'll go to another universe.
so I think what they're going to do in terms of like the Marvel stuff is obviously you've got the multiverse of madness, and then it's all going to collapse back into one timeline again. So that there then is an issue. So that's what they did in the comics. Is that it was the multiverses collided, and that's how it was X-Men versus the Avengers.
Yes,
And then it like collapsed into one universe where you have both the Avengers and X-Men in it. So I think that might be what they're doing to bring some of the Sony content across. Whether it works out like that, because what is it? Is it we're on phase 5 now? I have no idea where it is. Like
start phase 5, yeah, with that man.
This last phase has been phase 4 has been quite bad. I've still not watched Wakanda Forever. Just came out on Disney Plus, so I think we're watching that this weekend. But it's like I've not gone out of my way to go and watch that many Marvel films like in the cinema, because obviously a lot of them were coming out during like lockdown and stuff, and then it came to Disney Plus within a short amount of time anyway. I'm just trying to think of the last thing I went to go and watch was Matilda the musical with Willow, and that was fantastic.
Like?
She knew her teacher at school, because obviously she's in reception, has been seeing it like 2 months ago when it like first came out, and is obsessed with it. So they've been playing like the songs all the time, like at school. So she knows all the words to all the songs. She was literally in the cinema we've got there. They have like child screenings, but they have these seats that are double seats, so that if you're going with a 4-year-old, like I don't know about your kids, but Willow doesn't have the greatest attention span. She can sit and watch something for about an hour, and then she's wanting to get up and down and go to the toilet and stuff like that. But if you've got a double seat, it makes it far easier because she can then be sat on my knee, sharing my popcorn, and it's not got that massive elbow thing like right in the middle. But yeah, she was getting up in the aisle, like singing, dancing along. But because it's Matilda the musical, and there was mostly other children with parents with children there, like all the other kids were doing it as well. So
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, Chloe's now of an age where she started paying attention what the other girls are wearing, and like it was the same thing. Oh, can I get my hair done this way because so and so's had it done? And I was like, fuck, it's already started. You're only 6. I thought we had a
how
couple
old is
more
she
years.
now?
She's 6.
Six.
I thought we had a couple more years before that.
Before peer pressure kicks in.
Yeah, very much.
Well, they mature so much faster, don't they?
I guess it's the environment of the product of the world we live in. Like they always are going to grow up fast in terms of the way the world is and what's available to them. Yeah, they really are. And
it's like Willow was
serious
watching
to us.
YouTube Kids the other day, and they were making pizzas on it. And so last night what day was it? Yes, it was Tuesday. Monday night, can we make pizzas? It's like I don't really have the stuff to make pizzas. It's like I don't really keep pizza bases in. That's not something that I would just have on hand. But I got sent to Asda yesterday to go get pizza bases, tomato paste, and she made pizzas and she loved it. She had those for tea. So I think it's one of those things where they often see things online or, as you said, at school of what everybody else is doing, and they just want to be part of the crowd, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and I guess. Yeah, you still do it as an adult. Never.
So here's a big question for you: how old will she need to be before she gets a mobile phone?
Yeah, interesting one that, because I think if you deny them for too long, they probably rebel and are obsessed with getting it. And then when they do get it, go nuts. I don't know. Whereas if you give it to them straight away, I don't think it's right. But for me, I think she needs to be out of primary school personally. So I think probably year 7.
So what's that? 11, 12?
No, I think it's 12, 13.
Yeah, 12, 13.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of when we gave Joshua. I think Joshua had one in year 6.
Yeah, so that's the year below the next school for Chloe.
Yeah. So I remember when we got Joshua a phone, straight away you can download parental apps on it now so that I can control the age ranges of apps he could download, and also whether he buys anything on there. And also I can lock it. So if he's pissing me off and I want to take his phone off him, I can click a button on my phone and it locks it. So it's literally like your parental controls are engaged, you can't use it. Which is even more frustrating for them because like if you take the phone off them, it's not there as a temptation, but if they've got it and they can't use it, it drives them insane. But we've said until he's like 15, he's got to have those parental locks on it. And it also means I can track the phone. I don't use it to track the phone, but if he's ever out and I want to know where he is, it does a GPS thing on it. I can see his location. So I think Willow will probably have the same thing. How old she will be when she gets a phone is going to be a discussion between me and Nat. It's probably going to be a similar sort of age, or when she asks. But I don't think they should be getting them, especially with all the media and stuff they can get on them now. Like Josh is 13 and literally attached to his screen like this all the time. You could be sat in the same room watching telly, and then I can see that he's actually watching his phone. And it's like, or he'll be sat playing on his Xbox with YouTube playing right here. It's like, you can't be concentrating on both of them. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's quite something that makes you really wonder, like, is ADHD and stuff like something that happens to us that we grow up with, or getting worse with all the distractions and technology around to us now?
I think it's probably a combination of both. I think some people are more genetically prone to it.
Yeah.
But I think, as you said, growing up with screens and instant gratification and all the information you'd ever need ever at your fingertips at all times probably doesn't help your ability to concentrate.
No, I certainly don't think it does. And on that bombshell,
On that bombshell.
Yeah.
Right, dude. Where can the guys find you if they want to check out some awesome garage lifting content from yourself?
They won't find any because I don't do it. They can go on my Instagram if they want bubbers and beans. Send us a message. We can talk about. Oh, it's Technoman was the name of the anime, by the way. We can talk about
Techno
that.
Man. Sounds good. I'll
Yeah.
check it out on my sister.
Well, Technoblade.
So when my
actually.
mum passed away, there's been a wardrobe sat in my garage gym for about 8 months now, and I've not been able to do anything like move anything around or rearrange anything in there for like 8 months. It's just gone today. So after this, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go tidy up the garage gym. I'm gonna move my flags around and have a little move around. So hopefully I'll be able to actually film some content and stuff in there soon. So for myself, it is the Dad Bod Coach on Instagram and on Facebook too as well. So hope you have a great rest of your day, dude, and I will speak to you again soon.
You too, bud. Take care of yourself, mate.
No worries. Bye for now.